Hello, and welcome to the College Admissions Collaborative highlighting engineering and technology, or CACHET, College Fair. We are excited to have you participating in this event. We have a fantastic school here with us today. My name is Daisha, and I will be your facilitator. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items I'd like to share with you. First, your camera and your microphone are off. So the panelists will not be able to hear or see you. However, you can communicate with them via the Q&A button on your screen. If you click that and open up the window, you'll be able to type in any questions you have, and they'll be able to answer you during today's presentation. This is one of many presentations happening today. So please check out the website and view the schedule for any other sessions you are interested in. This presentation is being recorded and it will be available online at strivescan.com/cachet. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenter from the University of Chicago.
Thank you, Daisha, and good evening, everyone. My name is Liz Schutz. I'm an admissions counselor here at the University of Chicago. Specifically, I read applications from Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Manhattan if you go to high school in any one of those territories. But if not, no worries. I'm still very excited to tell you a little bit about the University of Chicago and specifically some of our STEM opportunities that we offer. So as you can see here in this photo, we have some pretty unique Gothic architecture that is distinguished from the rest of the city of Chicago. So when you look at this, you might think that the University of Chicago is quite old, but in fact, we're more middle-aged in terms of higher education. We were founded in 1890 by John D. Rockefeller, who you may have heard of in some of your American history classes. Now, John D. Rockefeller and our first president, William Rainey Harper, wanted a UChicago education to be unique. So they brought in the best elements from a English liberal arts college model and a German research university style. And they melded those two together. And they also stole, or borrowed, I should say, some of the architecture inspiration from the English as well. So William Rainey Harper and John D. Rockefeller wanted a UChicago education to be unique. And I think that can really be summed up in our motto, Crescat Scientia Vita Excolator, which translates to let knowledge grow from more to more, so be human life enriched. So I take that to mean that they wanted UChicago educations to mean something. They wanted our students to go on and change the world. And certainly they have done that. You can see the list on your screen, just a handful of our accomplishments. We have 10% of all Nobel Prizes affiliated with the University of Chicago in some way, either won by alumni or former faculty and staff. In the 1940s, Enrico Fermi won a Nobel Prize for his work in achieving the first self-sustaining nuclear reaction. That actually happened under the bleachers of our football field. And that was part of the Manhattan Project, and Fermi won a Nobel Prize for that. And more recently, in 2019, John Goodenough won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his work in developing the lithium-ion battery, which you may have in your pocket right now. It's pretty much in all cell phones. Of course, you do not need to be on track to win a Nobel Prize yet to be successful at the University of Chicago. So what an undergraduate education here looks like today. We have 7,000 students in our undergraduate college, so we consider ourselves medium-sized. And again, bringing in those models from the English and the Germans, we identify as a liberal arts college nested within a larger research institution. Now, when you hear liberal arts, I don't want that to scare you. I don't want you to think that it is solely affiliated with the fine arts. And I don't want you to think of the word liberal as having an inherently political meaning. So think about the word liberal or liberty, any word with the Latin root liber. And what does that mean? It means freedom. So the liberal arts is about being free to think what you want. Your professors are not going to tell you what to think. It's actually very rare to have a lecture class at UChicago where a professor is standing up at a podium and lecturing at you. It's much more common to have roundtable discussions, maybe you and about 15 to 20 other students sitting around the table with your professor. They want to hear from you just as much as you hear from them. And because of these small classes, 85% of our classes are 25 students or fewer, and we also have one of the lowest student to faculty ratios that you will hear out there. I wanted to talk a little bit about the 3 types of classes you could expect to take at the University of Chicago. About a third of your classes here will be part of the core curriculum. Another third will be your major classes, and the final third will be your electives. So we'll start with your core curriculum. That's really the bread and butter of a UChicago liberal arts education. Now, a lot of schools have core curriculums of some type. UChicago's is unique because we have these 8 subject areas that are listed on the screen, and that is just the overarching framework. So within that, you have a lot of flexibility. There are some schools where they might say, this is your core curriculum. Here are the 8 classes you're taking. These are the 8 classes that have been taken for hundreds of years, and everyone will read the same books and get the same knowledge. UChicago's core is a little bit different. We say we want you to get knowledge in a diverse array of subjects, but it's up to you to choose which themes and topics interest you. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Within the biological sciences, we have 27 different courses for you to choose from. So you can take a class on metabolism and nutrition, or maybe you want to take a class all about bugs called The Public and Private Lives of Insects with Professor Eric Larson. We have a biology class called Resolving the Environmental Crisis. So in that class, students learn the biological basis for the argument of climate change, but they also take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Climate change, of course, is a hot topic these days. And so in this class, our students are also watching maybe CNN clips from the presidential debates of 2020. So they're bringing in some of the political science. They're looking at it with a public policy lens as well. So that's just one example within biology. You're not just memorizing the parts of the cell and labeling the mitochondria and the cytoplasm. That's what my high school biology experience was like. You're really applying this knowledge and choosing what excites you the most within biology. That's just the biology example. Within the humanities, we have 10 courses to choose from. Within the foreign languages, we offer 57 different languages. So if you would like to continue your Spanish or German or Mandarin that you've been studying in high school, you certainly can. Or if you would like to try ancient Akkadian or Swahili or Yiddish, those are all offered too. So that's just a brief introduction to the core curriculum. And all of those core discussion-based classes will be capped at 19 students. So again, you're really getting the liberal arts discussion-based model. And I think 19 students is a kind of a sweet spot because you may have had an experience in high school where your class is 25 or even 30 students and everyone's raising their hand saying, me, 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 me. And that's great that so many people want to participate, but then you may feel like your voice is not heard. Whereas on the other side of the spectrum, imagine if there's only 3 students. Maybe the conversation could die out a little bit. There wouldn't be someone to play devil's advocate with you. So I think 19 provides for a healthy amount of debate and discussion that will keep the dialogue interesting. And that's what a UChicago education is all about, is challenging your conventional ways of thinking. After the core, the second third of classes that you'll be taking are your major classes. So at UChicago, we have 54 majors. 2 new ones were just added this year. So we've added data science and media, arts, and design as 2 new majors. A couple of nice things about UChicago's majors. The first is that you do not have to declare until your 3rd year. So you can come in and be completely undecided. You could maybe say, you could put on your application that you're interested in chemistry, but then you could arrive to campus and say, actually, let me look at that molecular engineering program. and you are free to do that. You are free to bounce back and forth between chemistry and molecular engineering. You're also free to try out Russian studies or music or creative writing. So in addition to not having to declare until your third year, another one of my favorite things about UChicago is that all 54 programs are housed under the one liberal arts college. So what I mean by that is some universities have separate undergraduate schools. They have an undergraduate school of business and an undergraduate school of journalism or engineering, and you need to apply into those specific schools. So if you're accepted specifically into the School of Engineering, that means that they didn't assess your application for business or journalism. At UChicago, we don't have that. We just have our one undergraduate college that all 7,000 students are a part of. So like I said, if you want to come in as a STEM major and then switch over to the humanities or the social sciences, you can certainly do that. Some of our most popular majors at UChicago include economics. We are the birthplace of behavioral econ. So if you are familiar with Freakonomics by Steve Levitt, he is one of our beloved professors. And actually on one of the first screens, you may have seen that seven of our current faculty members are Nobel laureates, and 6 of those are in the econ department. So economics is one of our most popular majors. After that, I would say biology, physics, political science, and public policy tend to round out the top 5 or so. But I do want to give a plug for molecular engineering, which I briefly mentioned and is listed on the screen here. This is one of our newer majors. The first class just graduated in 2018, and we've had about 70 students graduate with a molecular engineering degree so far. Now, molecular engineering is so unique. There are only 3 universities in the world with molecular engineering programs. They are Washington University, Kyoto University in Japan, and the University of Chicago. Washington University and Kyoto University have phenomenal molecular engineering departments, but unfortunately they're only for PhD students at this time. So UChicago is the only school in the entire world to offer this as an undergraduate major option. So what is molecular engineering? It is essentially you using your foundation in biology, chemistry, and physics to solve some of the world's biggest problems on a nanoscale level. For example, some of our molecular engineers are currently trying to figure out how can we molecularly manipulate the human body immune system to automatically fight off cancer. Or how can we change the structure of salt water to make it safe for drinking and solve the worldwide water crisis? These are incredible questions. They're life-changing, and these are the types of things that our undergraduate molecular engineering majors are working on as we speak. So we're very excited to grow this major. Within the major, there are 3 different tracks that you could take advantage of. So there is an immunoengineering track. There is a chemical engineering or a soft materials track. And then there's also a quantum engineering track. And quantum is probably the one I'm most excited about because we have no idea how quickly it's going to accelerate. Recently, the federal government has put out an ask to create a national quantum internet. So the University of Chicago has been charged with leading that effort, and so far we have managed to create a 100-mile quantum loop, and that connects the University of Chicago with the Argonne and Fermi National Laboratories. And this quantum loop provides the opportunity for unhackable communications. So this could really revolutionize the world of technology. Actually, quantum, Chicago as kind of the hub for quantum has been hailed as potentially the next Silicon Valley. So we'll see how that plays out, but Chicago is definitely a great city to be in with these 2 national laboratories, which we'll talk more about in a moment, and with the University of Chicago's research, with the molecular engineering programs that we offer. So we are very excited to be growing these majors. After your second third of your major classes, your final third will be your electives. So I'm sure you all are taking some pretty fun electives at your high school. The opportunities at UChicago are going to be tenfold. We have some pretty unique examples. My favorite class when I was a student was called Baseball in American Culture. So thinking how we can use sport as a lens to view the civil rights movement of the 1960s. We have a class called Dinosaur Science with Professor Paul Sereno. So in that class, students actually get to go on a week-long archaeological dig in the Badlands in South Dakota. And I think it was maybe in 2014, they managed to excavate an entire Stegosaurus skull intact, which never happens. You usually find just random bones and shards, but for an undergraduate class to uncover that was incredible. And remember, this was an elective, so it was anthropology majors and music majors and math majors who got to take part in this dig. And then a final example of an elective I'll leave you with is called Star Wars and Religion. So in that class, students actually have to watch at least 9 of the Star Wars franchise films in order to get credit. And they analyze how does Obi-Wan Kenobi's journey resemble that of a prototypical saint. And I love on the last day of class, on finals day, the professor dresses up as Darth Vader and all of the students dress up as their favorite characters, and they march around the quad and have a good time before they take their final exam. So those are the main types of classes you'd be taking, the core, your major, and then those electives. If you wanted to use this elective space, you could also bleed into it by pursuing a second major or a minor. Right now, about 50% of our students pursue at least one minor and 25% pursue a double major. So that is a little bit about academic life in the classroom, but there are also preparation opportunities outside of the classroom. So if you remember, I mentioned that we are a medium-sized liberal arts college, but we're nested within that larger research institution. And that certainly trickles down. Over 80% of our students do some type of research before they graduate. So there are so many types of research opportunities. Specifically in STEM, I did already make a plug for the Argonne and Fermi National Laboratories. To further build out on that, these laboratories are co-run by the University of Chicago and the U.S. Federal Department of Energy. So if you want to work with billions of dollars worth of federally funded supercomputers, and if you want to do nanoparticle physics research, Fermi and Argonne are really great opportunities that are just a bus ride away from the university. We also have a partnership with the Marine Biological Laboratory in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. So students can go out there either for a full academic quarter or over the summer to do research. And then on top of that, we have over 160 research centers on our campus. Furthermore, I want to remind everyone that research doesn't just involve white lab coats and pipettes and beakers. I know a lot of this audience is very excited about STEM research opportunities, but also remember that research exists in the humanities and the social sciences. For example, in the humanities, you might go to the Oriental Institute, one of our 3 museums on campus, and the OI houses some of the world's oldest archived text. So you could look at books from 6,000 BC from Mesopotamia in there and get up close and personal and do your own original research. Or we have the Institute of Politics on campus. The IOP was founded by David Axelrod, who was the chief political strategist for Barack Obama's campaign. And then he came to UChicago to found this nonpartisan political science research center. And they are constantly bringing new political fellows to campus and some really great speakers, usually former Congress people, governors, ambassadors to the UN, that sort of thing. A common question I get asked is, well, how easy is it to find research on campus? And actually, we have more research positions than we have students to fill them. So it is very easy. One reason why we have so many research positions is actually because we have more graduate students than we do undergrads. So that actually works in the undergrad's favors because the master's students always have to complete a thesis, and the PhD students are completing a dissertation. And whether they're completing theses or dissertations, that requires original research, and that's where our undergraduate students come in as research assistants. So to find one of these research positions, we do have a simple internal database that you can scroll through. But I would say what is more common is for students to find a professor who's doing research that interests them and to send them an email, ask if they can go to their office hours, and then they show up and say, "Hi, Professor Smith, I saw that you were doing research in XYZ. Do you have a position in your lab?" And a lot of times the professor says yes and can act affirmatively. And if they don't have space at that time, they'll point you in the direction of another professor or another graduate student who's doing similar work. So hopefully you can get your toes dipped into the research as early as your first year, if that's something that excites you. So that's just a little bit about research opportunities. If you have any questions about anything I've mentioned so far, so if you want to hear more about the core or the molecular engineering major, maybe you're super stoked about that dinosaur science class or about research, please do drop your questions in the chat and I'd be more than happy to answer them live as we go. So research can happen either over the summer as a full-time position or during the academic year on a part-time basis, about 10 to 20 hours a week. A lot of students will also take the summer, if they're not doing research, to get involved in internships. So I want to talk a little bit more about our robust career advancement offerings. First, I want to talk about the Metcalf internship program. So Metcalf internships are provided exclusively for UChicago students. So we have partnerships with more than 900 organizations in 80 cities around the world. And they call us and say, hey, we're saving 3 or 4 internship positions for UChicago students because we know how brilliant they are. So we have students who go on to intern at Google and Uber, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, Pepsi, Vogue, the City of Chicago Mayor's office. The list goes on and on. Whatever field you want to go into, we already have those connections built out. And we hope that you'll be able to get at least one of these paid internships before you graduate. And I want to reiterate, these are paid internships. We guarantee a minimum of $4,000 for a full summer internship, which is more than enough to help you find a place to stay in Chicago, help you buy food and pay your bills, but also maybe have a little bit to either have fun, pocket change, or to save for the academic year. These internships are also substantive. So I know sometimes you see in the movies that interns are expected to memorize coffee orders and fetch them for the CEO. That is not what you will be doing with these companies. You will be actively contributing. A lot of our students contribute so much that they actually get full-time job offers when they are in their 2nd or 3rd year of undergrad. And this leads to us having an amazing job placement rate of over 96%. I actually think for this past year it was 97 or 98%. And we take that metric before our students graduate. So when you do your college search, if you ever hear about this job placement statistic, a lot of schools take this metric 6 months after graduation or 12 months after graduation. And you can just remember that at UChicago, it's 97% of our students who before graduation know what their next plan of action is. For a lot of these students, they will eventually go on to graduate school. 60% of UChicago students go on to some form of graduate school within 5 years of finishing their bachelor's degree. So I think that shows you that UChicago students are learners. They want to become the experts in their field. So let's imagine that you already know that you want to go on to law school or to medical school. How would you navigate that? So a lot of our pre-med students, if we take the med school example, a lot of our pre-med students are bio majors. About 50% of pre-med students major in biology. Another 25% or so major in chemistry. But then the remaining 25%, they're majoring in everything from English to global studies. So the way that they prepare for medical school is they join one of our careers in programs. These careers in programs are open to all students regardless of major, and they are meant to supplement or also complement your studies to prepare you for your life after graduation. So if you were an English major who wanted to be a pre-med, you would join the careers in healthcare track. And that track would give you specialized access to some of these research and internship opportunities. You'd also have the opportunity to go to networking hours with alumni and with industry leaders. You could sit down and do mock interviews with the former dean of the Pritzker School of Medicine, UChicago School of Medicine. And all of these things together, they combine to give us a medical school placement rate of between 79 and 88% each year, which is more than double the national average. The same is true of students who want to go into law school. I think we have over 90% of our students get into a top 15 law school. So we will certainly prepare you for the life that you want to lead after college. Now, of course, college is not just about studying in the library for several hours a day and completing these great internships and research opportunities. We also want you to have fun. So I'm going to pivot and talk a little bit about student life next. And I think the cornerstone of student life is the housing system. So we currently have 7 dorms, and these are divided into 48 smaller houses. Houses are meant to be tight-knit communities, anywhere from 60 up to about 100 students, and they're meant to be your second family and your home away from home. You can imagine some of our dorms are a little bit large, so imagine if you were just dropped off and you were told, go inside with those 1,200 people and go make friends. That could be a little bit intimidating, especially if you're coming from a smaller high school, or maybe you absolutely don't know anyone coming into UChicago, which is very normal, by the way. It could be maybe a little scary and you wouldn't know where to start. So we try to build in these natural social support systems, and we say, okay, on the first floor of this dorm is Henderson House. And Henderson House is a community defined by XYZ. They're very passionate about intramural sports. They love to celebrate birthdays, and they're a very tight-knit community. And Henderson House will have 60 to 100 students living on that floor. They'll also have their own communal kitchen and some social lounges and study spaces as well. And then on the second floor, you'd have a completely different house, Midway House. So they would have the same amenities, but they would have their own unique quirks and traditions. I do want to make clear that we do not divide students up based on where they're from or what they study or what year they are. So you could be a first-year molecular engineering major from Palo Alto, California, and you could be living next to a fourth-year global studies major from India. We want you to learn a lot by living with that diverse community. So we hope that you'll make a lot of friends in your house. We also hope that you will make friends in the classes that you take. And then finally, we want you to make classes through the clubs that you join. So we have 421 clubs on campus right now. Some of our larger clubs include the Model United Nations and University Theater. And then we have some smaller, more niche clubs. I am a big fan of JELLY, Jelly, which stands for Jugglers Enriching Lives Like Yours. They try to teach people on campus how to juggle various objects. It is a small but mighty club, so they actually wrote it into their charter that any person who steps onto the University of Chicago campus is an honorary member of JELLY. So now they can say like, oh, we have 100,000 members, we're the biggest club, but they're really not. One of the other fun clubs, and it's listed there, and I want to give it a shout out, the Zombie Readiness Task Force. So if you're wondering what this is, they do a few things. One, they play a campus game of humans versus zombies every quarter. So you'll see students running around with Nerf guns, or I think another way you can kill a zombie might be to like salt their water. So that's a fun game to watch. They also go around to all of the campus buildings and give them a letter grade from A to F of how well prepared is this building should a zombie apocalypse occur. So wherever you are right now, if you're at school or if you're at home, I encourage you to look around and decide what letter grade would you give your current dwelling in terms of fortification and preparedness against a zombie apocalypse. I'm currently in a hotel room on the road traveling for recruitment season, and I think these walls feel pretty sturdy to me, so I'll have to scope out the hallway later, but I'm gonna give my hotel room a B for now. I feel pretty safe against the zombies. Okay, so that's a little bit about student life on campus. We also have a robust athletics program. So we are a Division III program at the varsity level. We have 10 men's and 10 women's varsity sports. Usually our varsity athletes compete, or I should say practice. They put in 20 to 25 hours per week. We also have club sports. Those are going to compete more regionally and be a little bit less of a time commitment. Club sports include ultimate frisbee or crew. And then we have intramural sports, and these are open to anyone and everyone, regardless of athletic ability. So we have, they're usually organized by house, so each house will have their own intramural dodgeball team and intramural soccer, intramural midnight soccer, which is exactly what it sounds like. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about campus traditions. So we got this great question in the Q&A about a unique student tradition. There is one listed on the screen there, the scavenger hunt. It used to be the world's largest scavenger hunt. My boss actually has the Guinness World Record in her office, I think from 2015 when we were the world's largest scavenger hunt. Since then, Google has beat us out, but I think that's fair because they have like 100 bazillion trillion dollars. So the scavenger hunt is a list of over 300 items, and most of them cannot actually be found. They have to be invented. So I will give you an example, Francis, because I think this is an absolutely phenomenal question. It was the late 90s, it was 1999. On the scavenger hunt list, we put nuclear reactor. And this, of course, was an homage to Enrico Fermi, who we talked about earlier, and the fact that he achieved the first self-sustaining nuclear reaction on our campus. So to pay tribute to him, on the scavenger hunt list, we put nuclear reactor, thinking that students would build like a cardboard replica in their dorm. But of course, there were two students, physics majors, who said, oh, I'm pretty sure we have the equipment in our research labs to do that. I do not condone this, but I do think they snuck into their lab with their key cards and maybe reallocated some equipment. And then rumor has it they did not come out of their dorm, Burton Judson, for 4 days straight. And then SCAV only lasts 4 days, so they came out on the 4th day, they came out on Judgment Day. They brought something to the judges' table that very much looked like a nuclear reactor. They actually had to call a scientist from St. Louis up to confirm that it was a functioning nuclear reactor. And he said, whoa, 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 everyone back up. This thing is active. This is not safe. I heard that maybe the FBI was called to campus and had to shut a few things down. I'm not sure if that is confirmed or denied, but it's all okay. I know one of the students, Justin, is now working at NASA. So it all worked out for them. But that just goes to show you that what might be seen as a kind of silly or childish scavenger hunt, UChicago takes very seriously. A couple of my other favorite traditions, certainly $1 Milkshake Wednesday. I always get the chocolate with Oreos, whipped cream, and a cherry on top. It hits the spot even in the middle of winter. And then we also have a very fun tradition called the Latke Hamantaschen debate. If you're not familiar in Jewish traditions, they have latke, which are potato pancakes, and they'll also have Hamantaschen, which are pocket cookies. And so every year we get our professors together to debate which one has more merits, the latke or the Hamantaschen. And this is held in our largest auditorium on campus. Over 1,000 students attend in person. And we listen to professors debate, and every year they choose a new lens. So I think in 2019, the theme was climate change. So it was, okay, environmentally, is it more sustainable to create the Hamantaschen, which require flour and a lot of wheat, which requires a lot of land resources, versus the latke, the potato pancake, which requires a lot of oil. And so anyway, it was very fun to watch, and you can actually watch a couple of them on YouTube if you're interested. So thank you for that phenomenal question about traditions. I think that hopefully gives you a really good sense of what life is like on campus. Of course, we are also in the beautiful city of Chicago, so I want to talk a little bit about life off campus as well. Chicago is currently the third largest city in the US, and it's unique because it's defined by 77 distinct neighborhoods. UChicago is located in the neighborhood of Hyde Park, so that's the Gothic architecture is campus, and the surrounding area we call Hyde Park, and you have everything you could possibly need when you're in Hyde Park. We have a Target and a Trader Joe's and a Whole Foods, a ton of great local restaurants and bookstores and shops as well. But then when you want access to the greater city, you can see the skyline right there in the background. It's about a 30-minute bus ride, and actually all of our students get free unlimited public transportation on any of the city buses or on the L trains. So that's a major perk. You can also hop on these buses for free, and then you can go to more than 70 museums around the city of Chicago. So the Art Institute is a really big one downtown on Michigan Ave. The Museum of Science and Industry is a little bit closer to campus. That's my personal favorite museum. We want you to use the city as a resource socially, especially on the weekends, but also it's not uncommon for classes to go to the Art Institute or the Field Museum of Natural History. Okay, so we have talked about a lot. Hopefully you are getting excited. You love the prospect of the $1 Milkshake Wednesdays. Maybe you're very excited about the Star Wars and religion class. So now you must be wondering, okay, I'm ready to apply. How do I do that? So the first thing to know is we have a couple of different deadlines, November 1st and January 4th. And during each deadline, we have binding and non-binding options. So if you can, I encourage you to apply by the November 1st deadline because we have a quick turnaround time. We'll get back to you by mid-December. And if you're a senior, it is so nice to go into that second half of your senior year, at least having an answer either way. That's one weight off your shoulder. So early decision, one would be the binding option if you 100% know UChicago's your top choice. If you are admitted under early decision, you commit to withdrawing your application from all other institutions. I know that's a tough decision. I know that personally I'm a little bit indecisive. So we also have early action, which is non-binding. We are non-restrictive, so you can apply other places early. You would still hear back mid-December, but you would have until May 1 to make that commitment. And the same is true for January 4th. We have the binding and non-binding. In terms of what we are looking for, so again, I am one of the admissions counselors. We have about 30 or 35 on our staff who read your wonderful applications. And that's the first thing. You need to submit an application. So we accept the common application or the coalition application. We do not have a preference. You're also going to need to submit your transcript. And when it comes to your transcript, we are not looking for a specific GPA. And the reason for that is every school works a little bit differently. So last year I read applications from Oklahoma and rural Texas. And Oklahoma used a pretty standard 4-point GPA scale, but Texas usually used a 6-point scale. This year, reading applications for Manhattan, they use more of a 100-point scale. So there's all these different numbers, there's smiley faces, there's frowny faces. There's no way to standardize it all into one GPA. So I'm not saying your GPA doesn't matter completely, but it's all about the context. So what is your school all about? What does your school have access to? If your school is providing any honors or AP or IB classes, we generally like to see that you're taking advantage of those within reason. So what's available to you? Are you taking advantage of it? And if so, we hope that you're doing generally well. But again, you do not need to be perfect. After we look at that quantitative piece, we're also going to look at the qualitative piece of your teacher evaluations. So we ask for 2 teacher recs from academic subject teachers. English, history, math, science, we're not too picky. It can be any teacher who can speak to your ability to critically read and write and think in the classroom. If you're a senior and you haven't already asked your teachers, now would be a great time. And always write them a handwritten thank you note after. It encourages them to write something with a little more specificity. And also teachers are incredible and deserve a lot more recognition. The last piece of the academic puzzle might be your test scores. Of course, UChicago went test optional pre-pandemic. So this is an initiative that we started in 2018, and it is here to stay. We are more than happy to accept SAT and ACT scores if you feel it will bolster your application. So if you feel that it tells the same story as your transcript and of your academic potential, please send in those scores, but you are not required to, and we will not ask any questions if you don't. You will not be penalized. Now, the final part of the application, and my favorite part, are the supplemental essays. And these go beyond the academic piece, because so far what we've talked about, the transcript and the teacher recs and the maybe the testing, that tells us if you have the potential to succeed here. And a lot of students do. A lot of students are academically prepared for the rigors of UChicago, but we don't have enough room for all of them. So we need to see that students want to come here for very specific reasons. And we see that in the supplemental essays. So we read the first supplemental essay about why you want to come here. Why do you want UChicago? And I want to see that you've done your specific research there, but I don't just want it to read like a Wikipedia article, right? So UChicago has these 5 libraries and these 10 humanities courses and these 421 clubs. Yes, I know that. I attended UChicago. I worked here for several years. So I want to know, how will you personally take advantage of those 421 clubs? Which of the 10 humanities courses can you really envision yourself in? So don't just name drop, insert yourself, really try to get at the ethos of UChicago. The other supplemental essay that we read is our uncommon prompt. So these are questions like, where's Waldo? Or find X. Or this year we have one about what if the moon was made out of cheese? So we ask these because they are submitted by our current students. So it gives you a really good idea of what our student body is talking about in their free time. And also we mentioned that our classes here are discussion-based. Your professors are going to stretch your intellectual muscles. They're going to ask you questions you've never once considered. And so this is our litmus test to see how you respond to the unknown. So I hope you're excited by these because it's my favorite part of the application to read. So finally, I just wanted to mention that we are very fortunate to meet 100% of demonstrated need for both domestic and international students. We guarantee free tuition for families who make under $125,000. That's just our guaranteed minimum. And for families who make under $60,000, we guarantee a full ride. If your family makes more than the 125K, doesn't mean you're not getting anything, just means it's on a sliding scale. On top of that, you are automatically considered for merit-based scholarships, no special application needed. And if you are applying for that need-based financial aid, we automatically waive the application fee. You just have to check the box on the Common or Coalition application saying that you're applying for aid. So we do more in-depth sessions specifically on financial aid. If you have any questions, you can certainly feel free to reach out. So to learn more, I encourage you to attend some of these virtual sessions. If you go to collegeadmissions.uchicago.edu, on the top bar, there's a button that says virtual events. We are also open for socially distanced in-person tours and campus information sessions if you're in the area. And finally, shoot us an email. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email that collegeadmissions@uchicago.edu. I'd be happy to share more resources about molecular engineering in particular. And if you want to get in touch with one of our 100 wonderful student tour guides, their email is askastudent@uchicago.edu. So you can feel free to take a screenshot of this slide. It has been so lovely to talk to you, whether you are live now or you are watching the recording. and we look forward to reviewing your UChicago applications this fall. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Liz, for that wonderful presentation. I have a quick slide to share with you all before we wrap up. When you close the window for today's session, there will be a very quick 5-question survey for you to fill out. We appreciate any feedback you can provide on this session. We encourage you to check back on the schedule and sign up for any other sessions you're interested in. You'll be able to find tonight's session recording as well as other session recordings at strivescan.com/cachet. Thank you, Liz, for a wonderful presentation, and thank you all to our attendees who asked questions and engaged with us tonight. I hope you have a wonderful evening.